everyone, welcome back. I'm the City Witch. So today's video I want to talk to you about some items that you can find around your home that you probably don't know can be used in the craft as magical ingredients. So some of these are maybe ones you know about and probably some that you don't know about or you haven't thought to use in your craft. So I'm hoping to inspire you to recycle these items and use them in your craft and of course save yourself a bit of money in the process. So I'm going to take a drink now because it's probably going to be a lot of talking. So, the first ingredient I'd like to talk to you guys about is one that you're going to have access to soon actually. We are a couple of weeks off Halloween and you're probably all going to be carving your pumpkins very soon. So I would like to encourage you all to save the pumpkin seeds rather than bin them and use them in your craft. So this is mine. As you can see, I'm running rather low, there's only a few left. That's because I only save them once a year because I only tend to carve 1 or 2 pumpkins. When I do, this is usually full and I use them quite sparingly and selectively throughout the year. Obviously, if you have a big family and you're carving lots, you can have a bigger jar and save them, but me and my partner only do 1 each. So this usually fills a jar for me and that'll last me the whole year. How you save the pumpkin seeds is very easy. You put the pumpkin seeds, when you're carving out your pumpkin, into a colander. Sift out all the gunky orange bits that you're not going to need and chuck them in the bin. Try and save as many of the seeds as possible. Churn the seeds up in water, giving them a good clean, trying to get as much of the muck off them as you possibly can. Give them an hour or two to just kind of let the water rinse off and dry in the sink. Then get yourself a baking tray or an oven safe dish. Cover it with either some baking paper or some foil. Then lay out the seeds on it, spread them out as much as you can so they're not on top of each other, so you may need to do this on 2 trays. Pop them in the oven on extremely low heat and then check them every minute. Yes, you heard me right, every minute. And you probably only need to do this for 2 to 3 minutes max. What you're doing is you're not cooking the seeds, what you're trying to do is heat them up to remove the moisture. Pumpkin seeds are quite a wet ingredient. If you put them straight in a jar without this baking process, they will go mouldy and all sorts of fuzz will grow on them, which isn't what you want. So my advice is to bake them for a couple of minutes in the oven on a very low heat, just to suck out all that moisture and dry them out. So they do want to be dry and a little bit brittle, but not breakable, and you don't want to burn them. Which is why I say check them every minute. Once they are dry, let them cool and then peel them off and pop them inside a jar and label it up. So what are pumpkin seeds used for? Pumpkin seeds are used in all abundance, prosperity, money spells. Primarily, they encourage abundance and they protect you over financial windfalls or losses over the cold winter months. So it's great to start creating charms, mojo bags and including them in your money bowls around this time of year. So in October, I always renew my money bowl and I always include pumpkin seeds in that, and the energy is year lasting, and then I'll refresh it every year in October once I've carved my pumpkin and I've got fresh seeds to use. So that's what I would recommend to do. They're also really good for fertility spells, love spells, sex magic, and they're also really good for revealing the unknown. So what I mean by that is my interpretation has been to use them in spells for truth, revealing secrets, and find out if people are being honest with me. And I've had some really, really powerful results from that, guys. But I do have to say, if you're going to use them in that sort of magic, please be careful. Quite often people say they want the truth, and then when they get it, they really didn't want it, so they end up shooting the messenger. So just be careful with that type of magic. Make sure that it's kind of your last resort, and it's the only one available. Make sure you've tried to, do all the mundane methods as possible to discover the truth or find out if someone's lying to you before you resort to a spell, because that's quite a powerful form of spell, I think. And also when I've done it, I've noticed not just the main target, but everyone around me seems to just tell me these secrets and truths that I really didn't want to know. So again, it can be quite an infectious spell, that one. But you can use this in that type of magic. You can also use it as an offering in lunar spells. So I've found that I've had great results when I've made this as an offering to some of my lunar deities or included it in some lunar spells. I've also thrown it into lakes and rivers as offerings as well, and as it is a seed, it will biodegrade, so it's completely safe. The seeds are fairly big, so you can draw, if you're very careful, little tiny sigils or symbols on them as you throw them as well. So it's completely up to you how you utilise them, but that's what they're used for primarily. So the pumpkin seed guys. So the next one I want to talk to you about is another one that you probably have around your home. This is one you might have thought of because some books and crafty websites have mentioned this to you before. So this one is eggshell powder. So this is my eggshell jar. So obviously you can see I've got quite a lot. This tends to be always about halfway full. I use a lot of eggs in everyday life. I like to eat eggs, I enjoy them, so I save the shells and grind them up and then I turn them into this powder. So again, it's another easy one. You clean off the shells so all the sticky gunk is gone. Pop them in a pot, put them on your radiator. So if you're lucky enough to have a radiator that's a little bit wide on the top, you can sit comfortably a little pot on top. While it's on low heat, put that on there, leave them for about 2 hours, 3 max, and you should find that the shells dry out quite nicely. You can leave them out in the sun if you like, but I have found animals nick them if you do that in the garden. So windowsill is best in direct sunlight or the radiator. You can put them in an airing cupboard as well. Leave them, like I said, 2 to 3 hours max. Keep checking them just to be sure. Once you feel it's dry, it's brittle and they're starting to crack easily, that's when they're ready. So then you take your mortar and pestle, grind them up and really give it a turn on that, guys. Really get in there, grind them up as much as you can. And you might find the membrane, which is the inner bit, is still pretty much intact. You can bin that. What you're after is just the shell. Once it's all ground down, pop it in a jar like this and label it up. So eggshells. Eggshells are used for casting circles for protective purposes. They're great for shielding. So if you think about it, the shell is a hard surface designed to protect the baby on the inside. So what you're doing is you're taking that and utilising that in your craft. So good for protection and shielding magic. It's also an ingredient quite commonly used in witches' bottles. So if that's something you like to make every year or every so many years, or you make for family and friends, you can do that. You can include it in mojo bags as well as a protective element. But also, if you mix eggshells with salt and dragon's blood, it boosts power-wise, it powerfully boosts any spell that you add that to. So it's a great booster for all types of spells. So this is quite a versatile ingredient. I will say it's a smelly ingredient as well if you do choose to save eggshells. I mean, if I took the lid off, I'd be like, oh, because it does give off a pongy smell. That's normal, guys. You don't have to worry about it, but I wouldn't keep the shells longer than, say, a year. So once you've come to your end of your year, clear out what's left and then make a fresh batch. Or if you get into the end, maybe just chuck out what's left, clean the jar out, and then grind up some fresh eggshells and utilise it. So if you do like eggs like I do, that's another good one to use. The next one I want to talk to you about, this isn't one for everybody, but it is one that I think most households will be able to include in their craft. So if you're not a vegan or vegetarian, this is going to be an ingredient you can use. If you are, I apologise, this isn't going to be an ingredient that you probably want to use in your craft, so you maybe want to skip on by. But this one is the wishbone. So these can be found in any bird that you choose to consume, so chicken, turkey, whatever. And there's a clue in the title, wishbone. So wishbones are used in wish magic, luck, good fortune, and turning your luck around. And they're used in 2 ways. So they can be used to change someone's good luck to bad luck, so misfortune, or they can be used to turn misfortune, bad luck into positive luck. So they're really good for luck spells. They're really good for adding into mojo bags as well. One of my favourite things to do when I'm casting for a client and I'm doing a luck spell is I work with Lucky Buddha candles, and I embellish with luck and good fortune. And then when I'm doing the spell, I often create little mojo bags or charms for my local clients that they can keep physically on them to help turn that luck around and attract prosperity to them. So the end here, when you break a wishbone, you ask for a wish. Whatever that is attached to means the wish has worked. So when I break it apart, I use the positive bit in the mojo bag, and the other bit I save for when I want to do misfortune and bad luck on someone. Not something I do very often, but it is something you can keep and use. So as it's a whole wishbone, it goes in here, and then I have 2 jars for positive and negative. So I have 3 jars of wishbones, I suppose you could say, used for 3 different purposes. So this is an option. How do you get the bone ready for use? So you wouldn't just you know, take it off the carcass and put it straight in a jar, you're going to end up with, you know, diseases and all sorts of midges on it. That's not what you want. So what you need to do, guys, is when you salvage your wishbone from the carcass, you need to clean it off of all the blood and the meat and the decay as much as you possibly can. Then you need to let it dry out. So I usually place this on a plate overnight just to let it dry naturally. Then the next day I'll get myself a decent sized bowl, one that I know will sit in comfortably and I'll be able to cover. Then I place it inside that bowl, fill the bowl with salt so that the bone is completely covered, and leave it for 2 to 3 weeks. You heard me right there, 2 to 3 weeks. And you need to put it in a fairly dark place and not touch it, just leave it. Now the salt eats away at anything that's left on the bone. It degrades the meat on it, dries out the bone as well, so there's no moisture in it, which is the most important part of the process. And then when I dig it up after a couple of weeks, I check it. If it still feels a little bit moist, I leave it in there for a further 2 weeks. If it feels okay, I can put it straight in my jar, which is already labelled up and ready to go. Now, usually I have a couple of these in this jar, but at the moment I'm actually currently drying out some wishbones. I've only got one left that's solid, and then I have a couple in my separate 2 jars for luck and negative work that I didn't use in a mojo bag. So that's another ingredient you can possibly include in your witchcraft. And as I say, if you do like to enjoy meat in your diet, that's probably one that you're easily able to get and recycle. But if you're not interested in using bones in your magic, then you don't have to, guys. It's just an ingredient I thought I'd mention. The next one that people overlook, which is a really handy ingredient, it's probably one that you use all the time in your witchcraft, and it's matches. So these are burned out matches, ones that I've already used. Now matches are not an actual ingredient in your spell, they're just a way to light and start your spell. So therefore, this usually just goes straight in the bin for most people, but you can actually keep your burned matches and use them in witchcraft. So this is an ingredient that would go towards darker work, so you would use burned matches in things like breakup spells, spells to dry up someone's love or sexual energy, make them impotent. You would use this in spells for hexing, cursing, jinxing, evil eye work. You would use it in things like that. You would use it in decording as well, separation magic, banishment. You would use it in all of that sort of stuff, guys. So this commonly would be used, as say, to dry up something. So the idea is that when it's lit, it's got that spark of life, that energy, that passion, that fire, that drive. But when it dies, it symbolises that energy dying, symbolises something being burned out, exhausted, no longer existing. So that is the symbolism of a burned match to be included in your spells. And these are great in dry up their love spells, which I actually do make for clients. So this is a great one. It's great for if you find that your partner's cheating as well, and you can use them as charms in mojo bags to prevent your partner from cheating, dry up their passion and desires for other people instead of for you. So those kinds of energies. So again, not one for everyone, but if you are somebody that practices both forms of magic and you're a bit more of a grey witch and you do all sorts of different spells, this might be an ingredient that you want to include, guys. So no judgment from me, just choose the ingredients you like the sound of and that you will utilise in your craft. So save your burned matches, and they are a good choice to have just in case. So this is the next one, and this is glass. So this is glass that I've salvaged from light bulbs. So we all have light bulbs in our homes, and quite often when you change a bulb, you probably just chuck the dead one in the bin. But what you can do instead, and disclaimer, if you're too young for this, don't do this. Please get parental advice or someone older to help you. But if you are, an adult witch of 18 plus, then you can save the light bulb. You can pop it in a bag or a bowl and you can smash it up. Obviously be really safe. I like to pop it in a quite tough plastic bag, and then I hammer it down, so I break the bulb apart and then I remove the metal bit completely and keep all the pieces of glass for witchcraft. So rather than go out and buy glass, which you can do, guys, and I'll just show you this. So this is another example. So this is from a craft store, and these are quite often just used in crafting or in pots or pottery, or they're sometimes just used as filler in an ornament or a plant pot. So you can buy glass, but what I found was it was just just as easy to save light bulbs and smash them up and use them in your witchcraft. And again, you're recycling, you're saving money. So again, good. What is glass used for? So glass is used to symbolise something that's broken, shattered, coming apart. So it's a great ingredient for, again, baneful, negative, darker work. It's really good for breakup spells. It's really good for breaking someone's energy away from you. It's good for decording work. It's great for if you want to banish somebody out of your life and say no, stay away. It's good for protection, so you can put the glass around a protective circle. Those shards obviously are quite sharp, so they're symbolising how serious you are about protecting your energy. You can push the glass, if you're careful, into candles, especially figural candles, especially if it's someone you don't like or you're working baneful magic. Again, no judgment, I'm just giving you ideas and things I've come across over the years. It's not necessarily stuff I do, but I'm just giving you the information, guys. So again, this is an option. I certainly do keep glass. I found some really interesting ways to use the glass, and I've just given you a couple there, guys. So glass is one you can use, definitely. The next one is if you have a wood burner in your home, or you have a fire pit or a barbecue where you burn wood or charcoal, you can save the ash and use that as a magical ingredient. So again, ash is used in two ways. It's used either in baneful magic, where you coat candles in it, so you use it in dressing and oils or anointing. You can use it as a base for spell work as well. So sometimes if you're using dishes or plates for aesthetic, you can pour it all over the place and it creates this darker atmosphere, very good for baneful magic. You can use it the second way for creating witch's salt, which is positive. So witch's black salt is used for protection work. You can make it in dedication to certain deities as well. I have one dedicated to Hecate that I make, so if anyone wants me to make that video, I will. I have already made a video on how to make black witch's salt, so you can refer to that if you want to learn how. But saving ash is one of those methods. So don't save ash from spell work. So if you're burning petitions or bay leaves, things like that, don't include the ash from that in your ash jar. You only want ash that you've collected from natural sources. So as I say, a fire pit, a wood burner, a bonfire, things where you didn't do any actual magic, but the energy was quite neutral or happy if you want to use it in protection work. You can also save ash from incense that you've just used to fragrance a room, so I tend to do that as well. I save ash from barbecues and stuff, so you can see pieces of wood, things like that. I haven't got too much in this one at the moment, but usually this is quite full. Then you can, like I said, use it as an ingredient in your craft, either for baneful work or protective work by adding it into witch's black salt. So completely up to you guys, but I'd definitely start saving your ash if you have the ability. And then the next one I will recommend to you guys is this. So this is coffee beans. I know you're thinking, wow, she has a huge jar of coffee beans. These are all out of date, guys. These are not for consuming, they're not for making coffee, this isn't from a kitchen. This is out of date coffee beans. So I have a friend that runs a coffee shop, and obviously when his staff haven't rotated the stock properly, sometimes the coffee beans got a date, so then he'd give me a call and say, I can't use these, can't sell them, they're going to go in the bin, do you want them? So that's how I end up with so many coffee beans. But coffee beans are excellent ingredients for speeding up your magic, speeding up a happening, invigorating a situation. They're great for sexual spells, great for energy work, great for working on someone who you know, for lack of a better term, can't get it up. It's great for all forms of energy work, guys. It's great for vitality, invigoration, energy. So any spells where you need to add energy into a situation, speed things up, get the situation going or moving. Great for road opening spells. So coffee beans are fantastic. And again, if you don't like coffee and someone gifts you coffee, rather than bin it, you can use it as an ingredient. Coffee is fairly cheap to get hold of if you do want to buy it, but I would probably say, you know, you can use coffee beans that haven't gone out of date. It's just that, you know, I thought, why not let them go to waste, so I've saved them. But if you have got coffee beans in your house, you can use it ground up or as a proper bean, it doesn't matter. But this is a great magical ingredient for speeding up happening, adding energy into a situation, invigorating something, and for sexual energy as well. So I definitely think about including coffee beans in your magic. It's an easy one to get hold of. If your household already buys it, then you don't need loads of them, you just need a handful max, so you can easily use that in your witchcraft, guys. And it's also great for making coffee jars. So coffee jar spells are like your sour jar and your sweet jars, so often you can make one or the other to do with the situation. Sometimes you'd make both depending on what the situation is. So say you made a sweet jar and the information from the candle has told you the sweet jar is going to take like 6 months to manifest, you can then make yourself a coffee jar, get the client or yourself, is it to you, to shake it every single day and work with the coffee to invigorate and speed up the process. So it shouldn't take 6 months, it should actually be much sooner. So that is one of the tricks in witchcraft that you can utilise, so definitely include coffee beans, guys. And that's all I've got for you today. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know, because I am thinking about doing more of these types of videos where I'll talk to you about ingredients you might not have thought of, what they're used for traditionally and how to incorporate them in your craft and save them. So if you do want more of those videos, let me know. If you'd also prefer me to split it up between light and darker ingredients, then let me know, because I don't mind doing that, or I can do what I've done today and just mix it and let you guys choose the ingredients you prefer to use in your craft. It's completely up to you. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up, click the bell so YouTube will tell you when my next video comes out. If you'd like to support me on any of my social media or check out any of my spell work, you can do that on my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and on my Instagram. And if you are supporting me on my Patreon, thank you very much, guys. I do appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you very much for watching till the end. I appreciate it. Take care of yourselves and I'll speak to you very soon. Blessed be.